So the last game we're going to go over is another Stefan Feld game, and that is Luna.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, Matt.
It's designed by Stefan Feld, and its artist is that guy, Klemens Franz, of great Mayfair
notoriety.
Glory. Yes. And published, I'm sure y'all played the Tastey Minstrel one.
Yes.
That's right.
Did I throw you off because I named the designer right then? Matt's like, don't steal my glory.
You took my job.
I don't know what to do.
That's my work. File the grievance.
They have a deluxeified version of this on Kickstarter, which I think is either over with or will be by the time this episode airs.
Right. I think it had 14 days left, and that was,
14 days ago?
Yeah, pretty much. It was
When
like
we
2
played
weeks
the
ago.
game? Yeah.
Right.
So it probably ends around this time. So, I mean, if you check it out, I'm sure you can maybe do some late pledges or go on Tastey Minstrel's website.
They usually have a couple that they take to conventions to sell as well.
Gotcha. All right, so I'm going to go over some of the rules for this game. Obviously not all of it, and it's very likely that you're not going to understand how to properly play the game and win because it is very confusing. This is definitely a game that you need to play, I think, to understand your strategies.
Right. There is a lot of different actions.
Yes. So basically you have a main board in the middle, and then you have all these 6 floating islands around it.
7.
Whatever. You have 7 floating islands around it. Each of these islands are going to host a certain set of favor tokens. It's each island has like all of one favor token, another island has all of a different favor token, etc. Depending, I don't know if it's a random setup, but you do have, or at least in the version we played, I think it's a static setup with the players. You take turns placing them on these different islands.
Kind of like for your first playthrough.
Yeah.
In subsequent plays, you play on the flip side where you get to choose where you want to start.
On one of the islands, there's going to be the Luna girl. You want to be on that island with her, with your workers. At the end of the round to get points. There's a bad guy that's on another one. You don't want to be there, obviously, though you can be there throughout the round. It's just during the scoring that you don't want to be. And there's an architect in which you can build a shrine, which is essentially in-game scoring, but they also help you perform actions with less expenditure of your workers. So the way the game works, there's and let me kind of tell you the summary real quick. You're going to get points from doing all those different things, but the other thing is the middle of the board has like a slightly randomized hexagonal grid. And then around the board, on the main board, around the middle of it, you have like all those hexagons that match the same numbers from sequential order on. So like 1, 2, 3, all the way around. And basically what you're doing is as you play the game over 6 phases, each phase you play until everybody passes, or you play until a certain amount of people pass, because each time they meditate, if I get that right, they blow out a candle and there's like a stack of 4 of them.
Right.
They flip over. That's actually pretty neat because it's like on one side the candle's lit and it flips over and now it's unlit. Right. It's blown out. So you do that once 4 people pass or meditate, or at least 4 actions of meditate. So the same person could do that 4 times and it stops the other players in their tracks. You can do that even if you don't have actions to take, just a bluff, whatever. So once that happens, that's the end of one phase. You're going to do that 6 times. Some stuff happens, which we'll get into. At the end of the game, you get points for all the stuff that you have done. You get some in-game scoring, which we'll go over. There's some final scoring. You get 4 points for each shrine. You get 1 for each leftover faction or favorite token that you've collected that you didn't use on the different actions. And you get 0 to 10 points based on, there's like this Council of Priests, which is essentially also determines the tie breakers. Like whoever's farthest on that will break ties if there is one, etc. But it also gives you points the farther you're up on it until you reach the end, which is 10 points. Anyway, there are a ton of actions in this game. I believe there's 14 actions or something like that.
Quite a few.
I'm going to breeze over all of them. You don't need to know all the details of everything, but basically what you're trying to do is move guys. You have workers on these different islands. You're going to spin these guys on the islands to get either favor tokens or to move them to other islands to prepare for the next phase. Or you're going to use them to go buy those hexagon tiles, which allows you to place that hexagon tile onto the main board on that spot. And what happens is when you do that, depending on the round it is, because you play it 6 times or whatever, depending on what round it is, you get points for that round as you go out there with that tile. And if you knock people off that's adjacent to it because they have a lower number than the tile that you place, You also get bonus points for doing that, I believe.
1 point per.
You get 1 point per, and it stops them because in game or end of round scoring also gives you points for every guy that you have in that middle board on a tile.
Every round, yeah.
Every round. So it does help to get tiles out there early, but typically because you've placed the ones that you can buy always go in sequential order, you're buying the low tiles first, putting them out there, and the next phase that you play, people are buying higher tiles that can knock your guys off that you just put out there.
Right.
So that's kind of the idea. You're getting a lot of points from that, but you also get other points from building shrines and stuff. So during the action phase, each player is going to take one action of the crazy amount of actions available, and then it's going to be the next player turn, etc., etc. Like I said, until somebody meditates, or at least 4 times meditation has occurred. So there's all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of isle actions. You can do the priest favor, in which case you're going to take 2 guys from that island and place it next to the island. So if a worker is on the island, he's active. If he's off the island, he's inactive. To do most of the actions, you take 2 guys off active and make them inactive. Or if you have a shrine, you can take just 1 dude, because the shrine is like a permanent reduction of the action, which is essentially what the shrines are for, other than in-game scoring. But the priest favor just allows you to get the token off the favor token from that island. You can recruit guys, which you put a new guy out there. They all become inactive that you spent for it. You can buy a shrine. You can get herbs, which is, or you can spend herbs to replenish 2 guys back to active on that island. There's a ton of ways you can move. You can journey, which is you take as many guys from any of the islands and move them anywhere you want, but they go to the new island inactive. Excuse me. You can use a tied favor token, which will allow you to move any number of guys. What was it again?
Both active and inactive.
Oh, yeah. And they all go to
any island as an inactive.
Yes. So that's a good way to spin your guys early on and then also move them, because otherwise they're locked at that island in the inactive state. You can do a sailboat, which you take 2 guys who are active from one island, 1 or 2 guys, and move them to another island that's active. And then finally, you have temple actions, which you can do what's called a promotion. Same thing. You can spend 2 guys or 1 guy and have a shrine, and you put your guy on one of those tiles that you want to claim to then use the sanctification action later to put that tile into play in the middle on the main board on whatever number that you have, and then you knock people off, etc. There's a little bag that you can actually spin to kind of get ahead, because you are limited on the tiles that you can pick. This, if you spend the bribe token, you can actually go to the next phase worth of tokens.
And go past the guard. Yeah,
to go past the guard, basically. And you can also then spend another bribe token to place that one out. Otherwise, you can't place him until it's the next phase, which allows you to have bought that. But only 1 person can be on that tile, so it's kind of a first come, first served. There's a booked favor token that will allow you to switch the book. So on those tiles in the middle, they're basically safeguards that you put on a guy, and he can't be knocked off when a higher guy comes out and play next to him. And that book will guard you from it. But you obviously don't want other people to have those guard books, so you can take the book and move it to one of your guys. You get points for it. The Council of the Priests is basically how you move up on that tie track. And otherwise, it's meant for ties, to break ties, but it also gives you tons of points as you move further up it. And the last couple of actions, they're Expulsion, which you get to move guys into the inactive state, I believe, from the island where the bad guy is, and then he'll move
that many spaces
in a clockwise island. You know, if you put 3 guys out, he'll move 3 spaces or 3 islands around, because you do want to put him somewhere else that people are going to get a lot of negative points from him at the end of each round. The last 2 actions, one is meditation, like I said, and the last action is the novice, which basically is just a one-time reduction in an action.
Yeah.
Spin him as a guy.
A virtual novice.
Yeah. So after everybody's done the action phase, then you go on to the scoring phase, which wherever the girl is, the moon princess, you're going to get set points depending on the number of players I think you're playing with, because that does change.
There's a 2
like first, second, and possibly a 3rd place.
Right.
Or you'll get on the bad guy, he's going to give you -1 point for every guy that you have there.
Yeah, active and inactive.
Yeah. Whereas I guess what Eric was getting ready to say is the Moon Princess, you have to have active people there.
Right.
So even if you have an island that she's on, you have 5 people there. You almost don't want to use them because you want to be. It's whoever has the most active guys on that island. It gets first place. So as people spend their other things because they know they're not going to be first place, you might be like, cool, now I get to spend my guys. So, and then you're going to get 1 VP for each novice in the temple that's out on the main board. And there's some in-games or in-round stuff where you move the 3 different guys around and then you reset some things or whatever. And then you do the final scoring at the end of the 6th round of the game or 6th phase of the game, where you're going to get 4 points for every shrine you built. You're going to get 1 point for each leftover favor token and 0 to 10 points depending on how far you moved up on that track that allows you to break ties. Hopefully I didn't really go too much into all the rules, but that's essentially how you play the game. And we're going to talk about Matt.
Yes.
You have not played this.
No, I'm
but
not.
you watched the video and you said it looked confusing.
It does look confusing.
Did that help out at all?
I mean, a little bit. I could tell just when he was explaining it, though, that it probably just once you play it, you get it. It does seem like it takes a lot of strategy, though, because of all the priestess and the apostate or whatever. How they move like so many islands every round or whatever.
So you between the rounds, you always know where they're going to be next round,
right?
Because the Moon Priestess, she's going to move to the next. If the first person that has the most points on it, gets 6 points, she's moving 6 spaces,
right?
And the apostate just goes to the next island that has people on it.
Yeah, it's interesting. The first thing I'm gonna start off with, right, is that I think it's really well designed. It doesn't feel like a Feld game at all.
Oh, I disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get.
Okay, well,
points.
It's not really point salady though. You get a lot of points throughout the game, but it's not like, stuff like Amerigo, where everything you do, you get points.
Oh yeah, you get 1 point for this and 2 points for this.
Yeah, it's kind of like every move you make, you want to try to score as many points as possible. Which is why I always joke that I felt like 5 Tribes was designed by Stefan Feld, but it wasn't. But I mean, it kind of feels more in the line of his designs like Oracle of Delphi or Delphi.
That's what I thought this game kind of looked like.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't play anything like it, but like it feels more like that, where it's like Stefan Feld designed it, but it's not the typical design that he's known for. I think. I mean, maybe you could disagree. I'm not trying to say you're wrong.
No.
But the weird thing about it is, I almost feel like, obviously we played it one time. This game has phenomenal reviews. I think it's a really good game, but it concerned me with the one thing that we did. We played the game 3 people. I tried as hard as possible to do the main, like the middle board. Yeah, the temple board. It's like 90% of the game.
I want to say it's 90% of the game, but yeah,
Eric
does.
did none of it. Beat me. Actually, he didn't really beat me. He did none of it. Melissa basically gave up.
That's right.
It was too much. It was too much to plan. This game is definitely, what am I going to do next phase?
She didn't think she was doing very well, and she did mess up, some of her planning, but she still ended up on top, which was, which was surprising to her.
Yeah, and to put it in another sense, at the very end of the game, the very final round, I got -2 points from being on the spot with the bad guy. Otherwise, we would have had a 3-way tie. I mean, what?
It came out pretty close, right?
It makes no sense that
which that is first playthrough. I'm not sure if that's going to be typical.
2 balanced.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I agree upon that. And if we played it a few times and we were always within like 2 points, I would be like, whoa, that's way too balanced. But that could just
is
been
first
right.
First playthrough. But the weird thing is that in the first playthrough, I focused solely on the middle board. Eric basically had 2 guys there throughout the whole game.
Right. Well, the fact that you're saying Melissa felt like she messed up a few times.
She gave up.
I don't want to say she gave up.
No, she gave up.
But
she said she gave up.
She didn't think she was in the running.
She started doing stuff because she didn't know what else to do. Yes.
She made the best of her situations. Right.
Well, yeah, for the first 2 rounds, and then past that, she's like, whatever. I'm whatever, Eric. I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Not she wasn't like
she
bitter
didn't
about
really
it.
give up, but she didn't think halfway through the game she was like, I messed up. a couple
She's
of
like,
my rounds.
I am doing terrible. Everything I'm doing is
terrible.
terrible. And like sometimes you could tell she did not make optimal decisions because it is you have to plan everything you're doing for this phase
and next phase.
And hopefully everything you moved into is working out for the next phase as well. So you're playing 2 phases together. I mean, it is straight deep thought. So it's just concerning that all 3 of us basically tied. I was like, what?
Well, we were really close, right?
Really close. 2 of you had the same score, and I got -2 points in the last.
No, I don't. Oh,
all 3.
It was,
you had 30,
it was a tiebreaker.
It's like
wasn't
35 points for both of you all, which everybody's laughing now that I said the points.
Yeah, no,
and I had like
30,
33.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's wrong, but I mean, I know I lost 2 points on the very last scoring of the round. Then we did the final scoring, and I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's weird. I'm just like, I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the game was great.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I like that there was a lot of different choices.
You will have a horrible feeling on your first playthrough.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's
You'll mess up.
You're not prepared.
Right.
Illidan pops out and he's like, you are not prepared.
and actually, that's one thing I do like about the game, that there is a lot of choices, a lot of things to do, a lot of different favor tokens that you can go gather. You are limited to 1 favor token at any given time.
Of each type.
Right, of each type. Sorry. So you can't just go hoard 1 type. But during the game, you can use it, or during 1 phase or 1 round, you can use it repeatedly if you wanted to. You can use guys, get a certain favor token, use it, and then use guys to get it back and use it again. So you can strategize where you're using a certain favor token more than once.
Yeah, it has phenomenal strategy. If you're looking for a strategy game, this is phenomenal. It's just so much going on, and in the end, I see what you were saying in the very beginning. It is Stefan Feld because you're right. I focused on the one thing that was like, if you picture like a normal artwork, you have a focal point. This is a focal point. It is undeniably
the main board,
the main part of the board.
Right.
To be able to completely deny that and like not use it at all and still win the game is crazy. But yes, it's Stefan Feld where you can just get points for doing all kinds of stuff.
Right. There's just not one path to victory or to get points.
Right.
Yeah, and I am glad for that. It was like, what? Anyway, yeah, it's really good. I don't know if I need a deluxeified version of it. I don't know if I need metal coins and all this other stuff.
They are doing, I believe, 1 or 2 mini expansions, and that might be...
That's how you draw me in.
Right
there.
So that might be something to consider. But otherwise, I think it upgraded the cardboard to thicker stock.
I can see that. Everything was kind of thin.
And then, yeah, like you said, it's the metal VPs.
Yeah. Oh, what? The metal VPs? Unnecessary.
Yeah. The VP tokens were, like there was a sliver of a moon is, 1 point, or a bigger sliver is 3 points, or a full moon was, I think, 10 or 5 or...
They should give you a bag to hide those in then. Because like the current ones, it's like a circle and it has like the moon, the celestial, like half moon, quarter moon, all that stuff. But it was still a circle so you could stack them up. Right?
No, all of them had... Are you talking about the different shapes?
Never mind. I'm thinking of the other Stefan Feld game, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
We played too many Stefan Feld games recently. That one was the circles that you can stack on each other. My bad. Anyway, I don't know. What'd you think, Matt? Was it interesting?
Yeah, I don't know. It looked a little too heady.
Too heady for you?
It looked too much planning for me to enjoy it.
I don't disagree with you. Thankfully, the game is really good. But yes, it is. I don't like to plan. Like, I like planning that idea of what I'm going to do in a few turns.
But it sounds like I can mess up my planning and do okay. So
there you go. Right.
So it won't be so bad.
That's going to be our way to test this 2 balance thing.
Right. On his first playthrough, and we know what we're doing.
If you're not familiar, like, I think in our first 3 or 4 episodes that Matt and I started the podcast, we had a topic where we talked about, can a game be too balanced? And initial play would put this game on that list because it's like, if it doesn't matter what you do throughout the entire game and you end up tying, now it obviously has to be over multiple plays.
Right.
But I mean, if you can literally just not care and the other person's like trying their hardest and they're a skilled player such as you, then there's a problem because it's like
you come up within 1 or 2 points every time. Yeah,
every
definitely.
action gives you 2 points.
or you might get 1.5 points per action on this or right.
It's interesting. I don't know. Like I try not to like read about,
and I don't think on this game because every action is not really giving
you don't
points.
think on this game that can be interpreted 2 ways.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't think that this game is going to be a game that is going to be too balanced.
I agree.
Because there is a lot of actions that you do during the round that doesn't give you points. You are getting a lot of points for doing this, or you're preventing losing points from getting away from the opposite, or you're getting points for being where the moon priestess is. So there's not a lot of actions that you're doing this for 1 point. You're doing this and you're getting 2 points.
I think all of us had different strategies, and we made bad decisions for each of us, which led us to not get a lot of points. And it just happened that we tied. I agree. I don't think it's going to be one of those games, but
if it was the case, then I would it would disappoint me.
Yeah, we're gonna have to play this one a few more times.
Yeah.
And as far as Stefan Feld games, I put this not high. Because it's not the type of Stefan Feld games I like, although I did enjoy the game while I was playing it, and at the end I was like, what? So I don't know, looking forward to playing it again.
And it didn't take a long time either. I think it was like an hour and a half.
Yeah, surprisingly, for as much strategy and depth that you have, it wasn't that long of a game. Jorvik was far
just
longer. It was like
just
as long, and you're moving a guy left to right five times around.
Right.
Yeah. So I liked it a lot. Man, we're gonna have to get you to play it.
Okay.
Because you're right. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do.
You need to test this out.
We'll test it out. So anyway, check out. Any final thoughts?
No, I did enjoy it a lot. I'm not sure at this point if it's top tender for top Stefan Feld games, but it is on the upper regions.
Fair enough. Matt?
Look forward to winning without trying.
All right.
Anyway, that is Luna